Hello, Chicago, and the rest of you fanatics. Welcome to the Chicago Sports Podcast. We are the Monsters of the Madhouse. I am your host, Brandon Duplessis, joined by the crafty Dustin Jones. How you feeling, Dustin?
I'm good, Brandon. I'm having a beer. Just ate a big ass dinner. I'm ready to roll.
Good,
Thank you for
good,
asking.
man.
How are you?
I'm good, man. Not too bad. A little bit gloomy on a Tuesday, but that's all right.
Yeah, it's
Got
pouring.
through the day. So let's go ahead and kick it off and talk about, I think, the first mandatory aspect of the Bears off season, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Mandatory mini camps. That's what
And
we're
that's
talking about.
two splash signings in Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift, and two blockbuster draft choices in Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. I think the same question is on everybody's mind. Did Nate Davis show up today?
Did he? I thought I saw that no one missed, but apparently he missed because I'm seeing all these memes of like, if I text you this picture, I'm not showing up to work today with Nate Davis in it. So it's like he was again not here, huh?
I'm not sure. I know I caught it just as it started, man. I was listening to the radio and they said they should be at full strength. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
what I heard
sure
too.
if Nate MIA was there. But I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
um,
workshop
it
that one.
seems to be a repetitive story after the OTAs. This a couple of weeks, what was it, a week ago? Yeah, where I think he was asked why he wasn't attending, and he said, "I'm not an OTA guy." I don't know what that means, but let me kick it off there, man. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
If
please.
there are players whom you feel, if there's an existing player on this roster whom you feel should be at voluntary parts of this off season, the mini camp, who would you put on that list?
Well, I feel like you're leading me there to Nate Davis. I mean, Nate Davis had a really rough year last year. I mean, personally and professionally, and you would expect him to want to get back on the horse and get as much work in as he can. You know, that's what you hope for as a fan. You know, that's why we're all so tough on it because like we just want to see our team do well, and he's a big part of it. So you want to see those guys putting in the work. I mean, if you're asking me honestly, I mean, I want to see a guy like Javon Dexter out there putting in the work, and he is, and that's really
Yeah,
that's really great to see because he wants to improve his game and develop, and he's doing everything he can to do that. So, but yeah, Nate, if there is a guy that we can pick on, it's Nate Davis for sure. I mean, what do you think?
yeah, I would agree. I agree with you too. I think the sophomore players for sure should take advantage of every opportunity they have, like Tyreek Stevenson, Javon Dexter, Zach Pickens. Those were guys I wanted to see there, and like you said, those were all names I read, so that was good.
Yeah,
Um, there's obviously the guys like the Montez Sweats, the Keenan Allens, the DJ Moores that are probably a little more exempt, but
well, they're gamers. You know, they show up when it's time to play, so you don't worry as much about them.
yeah, and obviously, I'd like to see you want to just see progress from rookies when it comes to these mini camps, and I think it's for late round picks, guys like um, Kiran Amagage and Austin Booker. This is when I think they kind of separate themselves, the men from the boys, really to separate themselves from the rest of these, undrafted free agent signings and stuff to prove these guys were worth a fourth, a fifth round pick. I mean,
Well,
Tory Taylor's gonna do what Tory Taylor does.
Caleb
We are,
Williams, the guy that you want to see there too, right?
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
he is, which is great.
he's the leader, so you'd expect he'd be there just to kind of establish that
Yeah,
aspect
yeah.
of his position on the team is, I'm here, I'm putting in the work, so should everyone else. We already have a comment from Patty. Patty Lars says, "Bear down." I think
Hi,
that's
Patty.
supposed to be the paw thing there. Hi, Patty. How you doing? Thanks for joining us. Bruce, as always, bear down. Thanks for joining us tonight.
The paws are the bear claws.
Yeah, I think that's what that is. Yeah, for sure. Did you see that painting that somebody
Uh,
did in the city of Chicago of Caleb Williams? It was just
yeah,
graffiti.
yeah. He looks stoned in that picture.
Yeah,
To be honest.
he looks pretty unenthused. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Well,
But I mean, hey,
if the season doesn't go our way, I think we're going to see that picture an awful lot after the season's over.
it'll become the
For
next
sure.
Spider-Man meme.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. What do you how much do you value, Dustin, these these minicamp, the OTAs, the minicamp
Well, again, like you
before
were
they
saying,
before
I'm
they
sorry.
play contact practice? You know what I mean?
it's valuable to the rookies. It's valuable to the sophomore guys that can show up and play. I don't really concern myself with that. It's a Nate Davis I would like to see out there performing. But when you're an offensive lineman and you're not hitting somebody, it's really tough to get the reps. You're going through the motions, but like I really want to believe in Nate Davis. It's really hard, honestly. So like him stepping out and performing in these and just participating would say a lot towards a lot of us fans who just want to see him perform well. I mean, you look at today and what you like to see is Caleb Williams getting tested by a really good defense. That's what you want to see out of this, right? Like, is he making his reads? Like today, they said he hitched twice, right, and delivered a ball late over the middle that Kevin Byard took from him. So those are the learning moments that you want to see for a young rookie quarterback that we expect big things from, don't you think?
Yeah, I think you're correct. And I think what's good about today is I think the first, everybody shared it. Every Packers fan in the world shared it online. The first 7-on-7 he completed 3 passes, but everybody failed to mention that neither DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, nor Roma Dunze were playing in that 7-on-7. So you had essentially Velus Jones, Tyler Scott, and some undrafted free agent rookie playing against the Bears' quality starters in that secondary. And then the second 7-on-7, Caleb played well, but they were missing a couple of linebackers and I think 1 or 2 players out of the secondary. I think this is the first 7-on-7 in which they played full strength. And I
Yeah.
do think this, Dustin, I think you're 100% right. I think the best thing for Caleb Williams, the benefit, one of the tools that Caleb Williams can use in his arsenal is that he's playing these 7-on-7s where he's not going to get rushed, he's not going to get hit, but he's playing against some of the best DBs in football, in my opinion. So as good as the Bears receivers are, those guys aren't slouches. Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker, those guys are going to cover these receivers well. So he's going to have to be accurate with the ball against the Bears defense in particular. So I think you're right. I think this is good it's good exposure for him. And like Devin said last night, man, Aroma should do. He said, the speed of the game is often thought of as like physicality, athleticism, and I think it's really more the mental processing is this when players refer to the speed of the game. I think they're referring more to that, and it starts here today with these 7-on-7s. So it's obviously nothing bad can come from showing up, and that's why it's disappointing to see Nate Davis only there when it's mandatory.
Well, no sweat, no Nate, according to CSP. Brandon Trax putting that in there. Thanks, bud. I thought that my biggest thought from it is like you said, you see this up and down from Caleb so far in terms of these performances. Today he was 11 of 13 in the 7-on-7s, but in the 2-minute drills, the defense shut him down twice. From everything I've read, I wasn't there, but that's what we're all reading, right? So you like to see him get really toughened up by a really strong defensive unit, and when you hear a guy like Keenan Allen say they're annoying, how much they're celebrating every time they shut down the offense, how much like that camaraderie on that defense. That's the thing that stood out to me the most in everything I've read today. It's like they're really amped up. They really are taking pride in shutting the offense down. And I think that unit's going to be really strong and really cohesive and, really a brotherhood that they're going to have there all season and developing that chemistry. Another thing that stood out to me in terms of the offense, again, we want to see Caleb perform. We want to see him, slowly progress and get better. But Keenan Allen took most of the snaps out of the slot from what I read. So what do you think of that? Because, I mean, that's something we've been talking about, right? Going through the draft process, assuming we were going to potentially draft a receiver, where would those 3 receivers play? We're seeing Keenan Allen start out in the slot position a lot, having Rome and DJ Moore on the outside. What are your thoughts on that, Brando?
I think, that might just be something they do. I think that all 3 of these guys are pretty interchangeable. I think that's something they're going to do throughout the season. I do think, in my opinion, Keenan Allen was never very fast. He ran a.
No, he's not a speedster.
His 40 at the combine was like egregious. It was in like the 4.6s, man. But I do expect as he slows, over time, he's obviously slowed down. He's lost a step, and he wasn't that fast to begin with. So I don't know that I love him playing the slot majority of the time. Like if that's their plan they have coming into the season. I think DJ Moore is phenomenal in the slot. And I think DJ Moore played on the outside because they didn't really have an option outside. I do know that Keenan Allen played 60% last season in the slot, and he did a pretty damn good job for the Chargers. But I think he kind of had to because you had Quentin Johnston, who was 6'5". I don't know. Jordan Palmer's a bigger kid. I think he's 6'3". So it made sense that Keenan Allen was in the slot. But I think
I don't know that it's about the size. This is kind of interesting here because I kind of disagree with you on this. Keenan Allen's the guy I do want to see in the slot. I think just from what you expect from the slot, is that you get that first down on 3rd and 5. They're going to make that quick out route. Keenan Allen is a technician. 4.71 pro day for Keenan Allen. Track says, yeah, that's.
I know his combine, and I remember. I think it was Mel Kiper, who's not often right, but he did say, "Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what this kid runs. It will not matter in his NFL career," and he was 100% correct. The thing that I see, I don't know, man. I and football's changing so much, but maybe I'm just old fashioned. When I think slot, I think speed because if you hit a guy in the slot in motion, that's a guy who can take the ball. Not typically for slot, not typically all the way to the end zone, but 15, 20 yards downfield for a first down at least. And the thing that I agree with you, Dustin, is I love to see Keenan Allen in the slot because I do think even over DJ Moore, and a lot of Bears fans are going to dislike me for this, I think he gets the best press release. I mean, the guy
he's going to get open. He's going to get open
separation. He gets separation immediately, and that's the thing that Keenan Allen's made a career out of is just being open within 5 yards of the line. And he's not small. He's not a pushover. So like when he gets bumped at the line, he's got great press release. And what's awesome, man, is the thing that I just keep reading about Rome Odunze is his press release is incredible. So I mean, when this guy gets bumped at the line, he just shakes people off is what I'm reading. And he's a guy who can get behind you really quick. And honestly, I've also read that a lot of corners in college kind of preferred to play off of him to not let him get by because like he's really good at getting by on that first step. So the Bears have 3 guys that can all press release. They have 3 guys that can all get yards after the catch, and they have 3 guys that can all create separation. I truthfully believe that without ever seeing
Rome might be the best at right now with the young legs and the size that and just the contested catches, which you want on the outside, right?
Yeah.
And then DJ Moore has the speed to go vertical more so. And I mean, Rome's running fast from everything they're saying. So you want that speed on the outside, in my mind, for those vertical routes. And then you want that safety net on the inside that's going to be able to be that route technician. So I like that plan to come out. I do agree with you. They could swap, any of those guys in any of those 3 positions. You got 3 really talented players on the field that are going to get open for their quarterback. But I like Keenan Allen coming out in the slot. And I just want to mention that Track's put on here, Jerry Rice ran a 4.71. Same as Keenan Allen. And I just always remember Jerry Rice because he was way faster than that in the game. And I just always remember him saying, I was scared. He was just trying to outrun that guy because he didn't want to get touched. And he mostly always did outrun somebody too.
Yeah, and it kind of goes to show between the 2 of them, Jerry Rice, Keenan Allen ran the same time at the pro day. But look at their careers, man. Look at the they have to show for themselves. And that's why and I think me and you kind of agreed on this while we're on the topic of rookies, sophomores, OTAs, minicamps. You saw the Chiefs take Xavier Worthy, and I don't know. Like I know the kid can run, but it takes more than that to play at the pro level. I'm not thrilled about that guy.
Mike Lombardi had a quote about him that I was listening to his podcast, and he said, "Oh, Xavier Worthy can run fast. Great. What are we running a fucking track team?" It's football.
It takes more to be a well-rounded receiver, and it's the aspect. It's the other aspects of the game that Keenan Allen and Jerry Rice especially perfected. And DJ Moore's on his way to doing it too. DJ Moore has never had really. Honestly, think about DJ Moore's career, man. I
just want to make a point on Xavier Worthy real quick before we move on.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Shoot.
He was a reach for any other team in that draft where he got taken. But for the Chiefs, he was not a reach. He's going to fit in well with Patrick Mahomes. There's going to be some growing pains, but I'll give the benefit of the doubt to Andy Reid and the Chiefs when it comes to drafting him.
Yeah, and what's important is, he can burn people, so he's going to be open downfield, and Mahomes is going to find him when he is. But what's important is that they don't have much in ways of receivers, so he's going to have to be, and I think they're going to have a suspended receiver when the season starts. He's going to have to learn how to play the game, X's and O's. He's going to have to run routes well. He's going to have to be that guy that Mahomes can look for on a 10-yard pass when they're on 3rd and 7 and stuff like that.
Well, they got Hollywood Brown on the other side. They're going to be a fast.
Yeah, they got two really, really, really fast receivers, man. Obviously, that's frightening for the rest of us.
But you were talking about DJ Moore.
Yeah, I can't, thinking back over the entirety of his career, when did DJ Moore have a quarterback?
Didn't he play with Cam Newton for a year? Was it like the?
But I think it was Cam Newton was. Yeah, I think it was when Cam was nursing that shoulder when he could barely, when throwing 20 yards was visibly hard for him.
Yeah.
So, and I love Cam Newton. I'm not going to take anything away from who he was when he was playing in his prime. I mean, the guy got to a Super Bowl, but in those latter years, he was clearly just nursing all kinds of injuries.
I think we're going to see DJ Moore get better this year than he was last year, but it's obviously not going to be reflected in the stats. He had his year with Justin Fields was amazing. 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, and that's with Justin Fields. We got Caleb Williams here now.
Their fantasy projections have him leading the team in touchdowns, but have Keenan Allen leading the team in yards, which I could see. That seems
fantasy projections from who? Yahoo?
I don't even. It's something that scrolled across so I think it was on X or Twitter.
Okay.
Where I read it, but they actually had all 3 Bears receivers catching over 1,000 yards. I think Roma Dunze was like 1040. It was like 1070 or something. He was just barely over 1,000. But I think they had DJ Moore at 5 touchdowns, Keenan Allen at 9, I believe, and Roma Dunze was at like 4 or something like that.
5 touchdowns for DJ Moore?
Yeah.
For the season?
Yeah.
That seems low to me. Doesn't it seem low to you?
I don't know, because that was just the 3 receivers posted on that projection, and the guy that I just can't seem. He's somewhere on the cusp of he's top 10. He's kind of clawing his way up, but I think Cole Kmet is going to have a major impact on this season, man. I really believe that I loved him in Notre Dame. I believe he's a really quality player. And I think that rookie quarterback, I think I sent you guys in that text, rookie quarterbacks targeted tight ends. If they played 8 games, they targeted tight ends 80 times. If a rookie quarterback played 8 games or more, they targeted their tight ends at least 80 times. And I know Gerald Everett's on the team. I don't see that taking snaps away from Cole Kmet. If anything, they'll be on the field at the same time. But I do see Cole Kmet, and I'm sure a lot of people disagree with this because the targets are going to be spread so thin. But I think Cole Kmet's about to have his best season as a pro.
Again, when you say best season, I mean, I think that's relative to how you're looking at it. There's only so many stats to go around, If Cole Kmet is making plays when they need to be made, if he's catching a first down when we got a 3rd and 6, like I was talking about Keenan Allen doing, I think between Keenan Allen and Cole Kmet, those are going to be the 2 safety blankets for your rookie quarterback, in my mind. And I think that's why I like having Keenan Allen at the slot. But, I mean, if Cole Kmet's making big plays and big moments in the games, and maybe it doesn't translate to the 800 yards and 8 touchdowns, but he's making those plays, I mean, that's him getting better, and that's him being, stepping up when they need it.
Well, and I'm really impressed by Cole Kmet's size, man. And I think rookie quarterbacks tend to look for that when they're in trouble and you see a guy, no matter who's defending him, is, as big as he is, a big body target like that. I think when you're looking for, like you just said, like a safety blanket insurance, especially in the red zone, Cole Kmet's kind of, if I was Caleb Williams, I'd be very comfortable having a Cole Kmet on this team. And, DeAndre Swift's going to play the same role kind of when Caleb's in trouble. There's an option in the backfield to pass to as well. It's so tough to try to predict this Bears team and who gets what, you know what I mean? It's which is a good problem to have, you know what I mean? We have
Yeah. I mean, and just in regards to Cole Kmet, when he came out we had high hopes. And I mean, honestly, he looked like a baby deer trying to learn how to walk for that first season. Like he's starting to learn how to use his size that you're talking about
Yeah.
to impact a yards after the catch, and he's stretching where he's supposed to stretch to get that first down. Like he's starting to use that athleticism and that size more and more. So I mean, if he continues to progress on that, and Caleb Williams trusts him, you're going to see him have a really good season. I mean, right here, track says Pinky says all our three receivers are going to get 1,000 yards, and I mean, I could definitely see that happening. But if that happens, then how many yards is Caleb Williams throwing for, and how many are going to Cole Kmet? It might not be stats, is all I'm saying, but it doesn't mean that he's not progressing and he's not become a better player.
And the Bears have the benefit of doing something you don't often see. They took a player top 10 in Roma Dunze, and I don't know that I'm curious to know how much timeshare, like snap share, Roma Dunze is going to get. Because when you're in two wide receiver sets, unless they're giving Keenan Allen a break, which I understand because of his age and his health, you got to think Roma Dunze is going to be on the field less than these other two guys, right? I would just assume that's going to be the case.
Well, like you said, barring injuries, I would just think, though, barring injuries, yes, Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are going to get more snaps than Roma Dunze, in my opinion. But, how much three wide receiver set are they going to run? Because if I was controlling that offense, that's where I would be in that an awful lot, especially with a guy like DeAndre Swift, who you don't need a fullback to run. Like, you're going to be able to get really creative from that three receiver set, the single back, with a guy like Caleb Williams back there. So, I mean, I would say that's the majority of my passing downs. And then when I'm trying to trick them on running downs, I'm going to be running that three receiver set.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point, Dustin, because what's up, Notorious? Notorious, just give us a shout out. What's up, Bear Down?
Darius.
Darius, what's going on, man? Appreciate you guys being here tonight. When you brought up something interesting, because Shane Waldron is really, really well known for playing for, like in a 12-man offense, or 12 personnel, I should say. Sorry,
one running back, two tight ends. Yes.
Yeah, and I think a 10 personnel offense on this team is going to be the most efficient, right? How do you defend if Roma Dunze, let's say, is the player he's projected to be, the 9th overall pick in the draft, top 3 receiver in this draft, in a hell of a receiver class it was. How do you if you put all 3 of these guys on the field at the same time, how the hell do you defend these guys?
I don't think you do, and I think Shane Waldron is smart enough to know that. To be honest, I think he's gonna. Again, I think what he's done throughout his career is adjust to the strengths of his team, man. And I can't. I've said this last week on the show I was on, and I can't stress it enough. He's going to adapt to his players and the strengths of his offense. That's what I believe he's going to do. Just because he ran a lot of two tight. I mean, he was trying to run the football. That second tight end is basically a fullback in those situations. But if this offensive line is getting pushed, do you need to do that? Can you run from a spread? Spread those guys out when you're scaring them so much with the pass. When you're talking about 3 receivers, like you're saying, Brandon, that can get 1,000 yards, that can beat any damn cornerback in front of them. How afraid is that defense of getting beat over the top? And how much space did that give you in the run game from DeAndre Swift out of the single back formation?
Yeah, and I brought this up, I think, 2 weeks ago when I was on a pod with Sean and Kyle, and then you also have to think, if you have to cover those 3 guys and you can't spy, how much is Caleb going to be able to run the ball as well? I mean,
exactly. If they take all that away, you still have Caleb.
Yeah.
with what he got on him,
The dynamic is frightening, man. It really is. It's the best thing we've probably ever seen as Chicago Bears fans from an offensive perspective. I really don't see, if you're right, if Shane Waldron, knows how to put all the puzzle pieces together, there's really no way to defend this offense. You can slow him down, but if Caleb's the guy we project him to be, I mean, the sky's the limit, right? And I do want to say, Brandon said this. Was he only 12-man since he didn't have the receivers we had? And this is what I was kind of saying. So Shane Waldron was the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks last year, where he had 2 solid receivers, and Tyler Lockett's kind of aging, but he did have DK Metcalf. But they did draft a wide receiver really high in Smith Njigba, and he didn't play a whole lot of 10-man when he had the 3 receivers were not on the field together very often.
Towards the end of the season, though, Brandon, that started to change. as he started to trust Jackson
Yeah,
Smith,
Smith and Jigba
they
played
ran
well.
more three receiver
He was on
sets.
my fantasy team, and he started to play much better towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
So,
That
so
just took
hope,
some time, and I think Jackson. I don't think that there's really a comparison between Rome and him
no,
coming
there's
out of
not. Roma
college.
Dunze is a much better player right off the bat.
Much more well-rounded player, a much. He's going to run routes better and cleaner. He's going to get that trust. He's going to block better just because he has the size and he's got the experience doing it. So I mean, I think it's just going to be about that trust level from Waldron to Rome that's going to dictate that, and Rome trusting the offense too, because he's got to get used to the offense just the same.
Yeah, and he seems like a really, really, like you said, well-rounded as a receiver, but he seems like a really smart kid, man. From everything that Caleb Williams, he's our star quarterback. It's exciting, but when I compare the two players, Roma Dunze is just all business, man. There is no,
He's ready to get down to it.
There is no Hollywood aspect to him. He just wants to play football. I actually watched a video after he was drafted where he called his grandfather to tell him that he loved him and told him that he's going to take care of the family moving forward. And that's just that kind of sums up who he is in general. He's a man. He's a young guy, but he's already a man, and that's cool to see. And somebody who's going to probably have a major impact over the Bears.
And don't you think Shane Waldron? I mean, like Darius is saying here, but echoing what I said, it would benefit us greatly if Waldron adjusted to the talent he has, right? Because the possibilities are limitless. Waldron's like this, man. Like if they take this away, I got this. If they take this away, I got this. He's thinking 10 steps ahead now, and just like we're talking about here, there's no way he's not thinking about that. If I put him in 3 wide receivers, they got to come out nickel or dime. That's gonna open up my box. That's gonna get me getting DeAndre Swift going.
Yeah,
and once I start beating them over the head with DeAndre Swift, now I can go back out to my receivers and my tight ends. Like there's just so much he can play with.
Yeah, these Bears running backs are licking their chops for sure. There's no doubt about it. Because
so Shane Waldron.
You can't load the box on this team. There's no doubt about that. That's the one thing we're going to see consistently is they cannot load the box on these guys.
Well, it'll be a shame if someone does. Like if we're having a bad game call, we're calling a bad game, and Caleb Williams ain't playing too well. If they're able to load the box on us, man, that'll be a shame.
Yeah, and I think Darius kind of agrees with what he said with Shane, which is something we haven't seen in the last couple of years. A Bears offensive coordinator actually utilizing the strength of his players. I do got to give you guys an update. As always, thank you, Cheryl, for giving us updates. Cubs White Sox started back up. I'm guessing it was delayed due to rain. Top of the fifth. The Sox are up 5-0, and this is just kind of
exactly why we shouldn't talk about baseball.
Yeah, really kind of just a reflection of the way the Cubs season's going right about now. And then Craig came through and said Najigba had 93 targets, 63 receptions. Yeah, that's not great. That's not like his.
I mean, that's pretty good when you consider you have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Like I said, he just slowly started to progress.
Well, there's 63 receptions is good, but his catch rate's not very good.
No, for sure. Yeah. But and that could be on are those catchable targets? I don't know that off the top.
And I think one thing we can all agree on is Smith and Najigba ends up kind of taking that role from Tyler Lockett next year for sure. I would hope so.
I just think Rome is more ready than him, so I think Waldron's going to have to adjust, man.
Yeah, Rome is. I like Smith and Najigba, I did, but Rome is a much better player right out the gate, I believe.
Yeah.
Guys, I do want to give a shout out to our first sponsor, Bridges Scoreboard, is your Northwest Indiana Chicago sports headquarters with the Hall of Fame menu and the coldest beer in Chicagoland. Guys, get down to Bridges Scoreboard if you can. Like I said, it's a sports bar. It is top to bottom, front to back. This place has numerous memorabilia on the walls signed by some of the best players that ever played in Chicago sports. So get down there. And the service we had when we were there, Dustin, for the weekend we spent there doing the live shows, the service was great. These guys take care of you and make sure they're on top of it.
The Coors Light does not stop flowing over there.
No, it doesn't, and they don't stop bringing it, even if it does. You can tell them you don't want a beer, but you're getting one anyways. Go to Bridges.
I got kind of buzzed when I was there last.
Yeah, I think her name was Dawn, the woman who take care of.
She was awesome. She just
phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal. She's really good at her job, guys.
I got a question for you, Brandon.
Food was good too. Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think is the most intriguing competition right now for this Bears team in terms of a position competition?
Honestly, I'm really excited about Karan Amagaja, I really think, if Nate Davis doesn't step into an effective role, like if he's not playing the way he should be playing, if he's playing the way he did last year, I think they drafted insurance there. I really do. Tevin Jenkins doesn't go anywhere unless he's injured. Um, Karan doesn't seem. I don't know. I think Brandon Trax has talked a lot about in the long terms. Maybe Karan can play tackle for this team. I don't know about left, but we know Darnell Wright plays right tackle, and that's it. I think Karan and Nate Davis is my. Brad Biggs said something about either Roshan or Khalil Herbert's going to be cut or going to be released by the time the season's.
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with that. I got to be honest. I don't. I think if you're going to get rid of one of those, you're going to trade them for a 7th-round pick at worst. But I think they're going to keep all 3 running backs. It's the most injured position in football. The Bears used 4 last year. I don't see them getting rid of insurance at that position.
You see that every year. Yeah, you see that every year. A 3rd-string running back coming in and becoming the most wanted player in fantasy that next week because they went off for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, we watched Foreman play. We watched De'Arrington Evans play. We watched Roshan take the bulk. We watched Khalil Herbert spent 6 weeks on the bench. I mean, I don't think that it would benefit the Bears to not have at least 3 running backs on the roster when they head in this season. But yeah, I would say, and I hate to keep beating them up. I have guys. I just want to let you. I have nothing personal against Nate Davis. I don't. But
sure.
I think it stems beyond more than just performance. I think it stems all the way down to effort. That's my issue with Nate Davis. That's where I think it lies. It's his biggest issues. So if the kid comes in playing well, I would love to see him get a shot there.
I don't know that, and I appreciate that take on it because that could be interesting if Amagaji becomes a competitor for that position. I just don't think he is right now. I mean, unless Nate Davis just totally shoots himself in the foot, the door's wide open for him to kick it in and have a great season. I mean,
You're gonna say center.
Well, that's what defensive end is kind of intriguing to me too, and you might tell me the same thing where maybe Austin Booker's not ready to challenge Walker for that spot across from Montez Sweat, or what if there's this TBD person that's coming in here that we don't know yet that could be usurping Walker from his position? Because I mean, as much as everyone tries to tell me he's a good rotational piece, I mean, well, where's the rotation and where's his production? Because he's got a 59 grade from PFF last year, 3.5 sacks. I'm not. That's not enough for me from my other starting defensive end. I
hate to do this for the fan base, but I'm 100% agree with you, Dustin, because I do believe if they sign somebody, he's immediately the starter over Walker. I really believe that. And I think my problem with Walker, and I've said this before, guys, and not only did his production regress when Montez Sweat was added to this team and Yannick was injured. So, like, my problem with Walker's is motor, right? Like when he had to play every snap after Yannick got injured and Sweat was there to take a little bit of pressure away from him, he just slowed down. So I think you're right, Dustin. I think he's at best a rotational piece because when the guy has to play a full game, he's no good to anybody. He doesn't produce.
So then what that says is the Bears do need to make another signing, and they do need to be giving Booker as many reps as possible, right?
Yeah, because even if Booker's production isn't there, if his motor's there, if the guy can play, a majority of snaps opposite of Montez Sweat, I'd let him play over Walker. Walker is a guy who can only be on the field for a limited time, and he's not impactful if he's not fresh. He's got to have fresh legs, and he wears down really quick. I don't know if it's due to his size or what it is, but the one thing that I noticed towards the end of last year is if he's required to play every snap, his production decreases, which is that's not a game changer. That's quite the opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can't have everything. You can't have a stud at every position. The salary cap, really makes that tough. But competition does breed success, right? And if you get a good competition from Booker, then maybe that makes Walker better. Or if you bring somebody in and they start pushing them, I just want to see the competition there because I want to see the best person, the person who earns it in training camp, become that defensive end starting opposite Montez Sweat. And I mean, you brought up center, man, and it's the one that's been talked about the most, but it is the most important
Yeah,
competition for the
they're
Bears.
rotating each player by day. They had Coleman Shelton start.
Well, it was a week. It was a week, right? In OTAs, it was the first week and the second week.
Was it weeks? Okay.
Yeah, it was week. Week 1 was Bates. Week 2 was Shelton.
Yeah,
not by day.
And I really hate to say this, guys. I'm not a negative Nancy. I'm gonna be called this by plenty of people. I think they're kind of looking at the best of the worst when it comes to that competition. I hate to say it. It feels very Cody Whitehair and Lucas Patrick to me. They don't have a cell. You know, you have either the guy who played center all year but allowed the most pressures versus the guy who played on the bench and played most guard. So I mean, like, it's not looking good to me at that position. And like you've said many times, Dustin, on record, that position when you have a rookie quarterback is one of the most vital on your roster. It really is. I wouldn't, if they had to refrain from signing a free agent defensive end to go get Connor Williams, I'd be more than ecstatic to see that, man. I really would.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen, man.
No,
that's us pipe dreaming because they already made their moves. They traded a 5th round pick.
And what we've heard is Ryan Poles is a really big fan of Ryan Bates, so I would imagine that he gets the starting job unless he does something to lose it. But I don't feel good about the position at all.
And here's Track saying, I think defensive line and offensive line has the most competition. That's what we're talking about. Darius says interior D line. I mean, when it comes to this center competition, who do you want to win? Who do you think is the best fit for this offensive line to give? Because here's the thing, right? The most important thing for Caleb Williams, and you've said this multiple times, very passionately a couple of times. The most important thing for Caleb Williams this year is keeping him upright, not allowing sacks. If you look at guys like Patrick Mahomes, they don't get sacked more than 25 times, 30 times in a season. And that enables them to, stay within the offense. Caleb Williams needs to stay upright. So who do we want to win this competition?
I've said this a few times. I don't think either one of them is going to be a phenomenal blocker at the position. I really don't. I think it's the weakest position on the Bears, even more so than Walker. I really do. I think the center is the weakest position on the Bears. So I think they're going to choose the guy who's has the most ability to read a defense, to read pressure. At least if he can't block them, he knows where it's coming from. And if you can tip your quarterback off, you're halfway there. You're halfway to doing the job, right? So
well, that's Coleman Shelton, right?
Yeah,
he's the one who's got the experience playing the center position for an NFL football team.
I don't love Ryan Bates playing center for the Bears, man. I don't. He played 5 games last year, I believe, at guard, right?
He played like 30 snaps at center. He had like a 79 PFF grade in those limited snaps. Coleman Shelton was ranked 12th in the league in terms of run blocking from the center position. So there's a positive, in regards to that. Pass blocking, not so much, but that's what we're talking about here with Caleb, keeping him upright. Track says he wants the best man to win. Yeah. Who do we think that one is, though? We think it's going to be Coleman Shelton?
I think it will be, man. I really do. Unless Ryan Bates just shows these guys that, like, if the position change was all he needed to excel, I don't feel comfortable putting a guard at that position with a rookie quarterback. And here's another question, man. If Ryan Bates is a really solid guard, which from all sources that I understand he is, he played a full season for Buffalo at guard and he played really well.
Oh shit!
Is he capable of taking one of those positions?
Taking over for Tevin Jenkins if he gets hurt, and then you can plug Coleman Shelton right in there, or taking over for Nate Davis if he's not cutting it or he gets hurt. And Trax makes the point about the left and the right guard here. They can make it easier on that center too. If the center is able to pick up on the blitzes that are coming, the defense that's in front of them, the right and left guard can really help in terms of blocking and really setting that wall in that interior. Because again, what we've talked about, that pressure up the middle is what bothers these quarterbacks the most. It's what throws them off the most. Whether it results in a sack or not, it's definitely going to result in a busted fucking play if you got pressure right in your face. So we really need to solidify that. And that if we have a healthy Tevin Jenkins and a reinvigorated Nate Davis, then that changes things in terms of I don't think it becomes as important for that center position. But the thing is, we have those ifs around that center position on top of it. So then now you get a little concerned.
Yeah, and who was the player? The Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions signed a tackle that's got the ability to rush, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they signed dude from the Texans and the Bengals. I'm blanking on his name right now. I love that guy. Why
Yeah,
am I
so
blanking?
I know I know the Bears on their schedule do have a couple quality pass rushing defensive tackles. So
Anybody
like
can help me out with that in the chat.
like you said, it's the closest guy to the quarterback, man, when the ball is snapped. So that interior offensive line concerns me, man. You guys know this. I got pretty passionate about it on one of these shows earlier, and I don't love it. I don't think it's where it needs to be. I think Caleb has the ability, like you've said, Dustin, to make them better.
That's
He's
another thing that we like when you talk about Patrick Mahomes being sacked so little throughout his career since 2016. He's a big part of that. Like it's not like they've had nothing but all pro studs in front of Patrick Mahomes. They've had a good system in place. They've had a good offense implemented. Patrick Mahomes gets rid of the ball quick, and if he doesn't, he's a maneuverer in the pocket. He's a magician, so he makes life easier on those offensive linemen in front of him. So it's like it's a symbiotic relationship. You need one to help the other, and vice versa.
yeah, and
DJ Reader, God darn it, DJ
DJ
Reader.
Reader, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, guys, but if there's a quarterback in the NFL that Caleb Williams reminds me of, it's Mahomes. And I'm not saying this guy's going to be a three-time championship winner. What I'm saying is when it comes to getting pressured, his ability to keep his eyes downfield reminds me of like prime Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes. Just he doesn't prefer as he said before, he doesn't prefer the option to run. So
Aaron Rodgers too. When he was
which
at
was his favorite player growing up. Yeah. So like
yeah.
if you analyze the way he plays is he's going to continue to look for the pass until he crosses that line, right? So that is definitely going to make this offensive line better for sure because Caleb's going to buy them time as they try to buy him time, and he'll still look for the pass downfield when he's got three receivers that are going to likely be open. So like we've said, they've got all the pieces. They just
competition breeds success. So hopefully we get the like Track said, the best man wins, and we have a solid group in front of Caleb. Another question I had for you, Brandon. I was just thinking about this earlier when I was combing through some stuff. I think we can agree that the most important player on the Bears for this year and every year going forward until further notice is Caleb Williams. You can agree on that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Who's the second most important player to this Bears team's success this season, in your mind?
To me?
Yeah, to you.
I didn't even have to think about it, to be honest with you, man. I would say Montez Sweat. I think an NFL. I've watched the Bears when you cannot apply pressure to quality quarterbacks, which the Bears have in their division. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the Darnold McCarthy thing. I think Kevin O'Connell knows how to get the best out of the guys he's got. But when it comes to Jordan Love and Jared Goff, if you don't get pressure on those two guys, they're going to burn you. It's going to happen. And the Bears can have the best DBs in the league. It doesn't matter. If you don't get to the quarterback, it's irrelevant. That's. I've said this before. I think an NFL defensive is the most cohesive unit in sports. The back seven doesn't work without the front four, and vice versa, right? And the Bears have quality units. They have good linebackers. They have good DBs, but you've got to get pressure. The quarterback cannot have, more than the average NFL time to throw the ball. And you've got guys like Amon-Ra. You've got guys like Christian Watson. Those guys, as good as Jalen Johnson and Stevenson are, those guys are going to beat you if they have time. It's only a matter of time before a receiver gets on.
They know where they're going, and you don't.
You can't cover right, and it's not, and it's nothing. It's not a knock on any of the DBs. You can't cover a wide receiver forever because those guys they improvise at some point. They'll improvise. So if I hate to, I'm like knock on some wood, guys, for me, but if Montez Sweat gets injured, this Bears season could turn into something ugly quick. I really believe that.
Well, and I mean, you're saying pressure is the most important thing for a defense, and I agree, man. I agree 100%. If you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, you're gonna have a long day. You're gonna get a lot of points put up on you. Montez Sweat is a great choice. I think Montez Sweat is probably the most integral part of this defense, the most integral piece, because of that pressure that he can get. But like you just said, it can't be just him. It can't be just him. So that's why I think, man, in my mind, the second most important player on this Bears team going into this year is Gervon Dexter. I think if Gervon Dexter, I mean, we're going to know pretty quickly if Gervon Dexter is taking that next step or if he's stagnant, right? Or if he's taking a step back. And I don't think he's going to take a step back. I really have high hopes for him. And Dexter at 3 tech is crucial. There we go, Darius. That's what I'm talking about. I just think, like, we've heard it so many times, and throughout just witnessing a cover 2 defense, that 3 technique is the motor. It is what gets that whole thing going. And like I
Yeah,
was just talking about, right? That pressure up the middle in the
Eberflus refers
quarterback.
to it as Eberflus refers to it as the anchor.
Yeah. Or the engine or whatever. He's referred to it as 100 different things. It's
Yeah,
the Viagra. It gets things going. But that pressure up the middle is what fucks with quarterbacks the most. And you have to get that if you're on defense. And I think if you have a guy like Dexter taking that next step and putting pressure up the middle, how much easier does that make life on Montez Sweat? And how much more production do you see out of Montez Sweat if you see another guy, you know, putting that pressure on and taking attention off of you? I just think that has so many cascading positive effects on the Bears defense if Dexter starts getting after the quarterback from that 3 technique, that I think it's the most important thing for the Bears this year, besides, Caleb Williams protecting him and letting him develop this year.
yeah. I think we changed the dynamic of the defense if they had pressure up the middle for sure. And a guy I would probably put after that in the list is Braxton Jones. Can he? Caleb's a right-handed quarterback, so unfortunately for Darnell, right, the guy across from him's more important. He really is. And Darnell's study's a solid player. I think he was all rookie, but Braxton Jones needs to do his job, man. I mean, he needs to do it well, and we can't be nursing injuries and hiding things, and like that side of the line. Guys, this is my and maybe it's the Bears fan in me that's just scared of things going wrong. Is the only thing that can derail this season is Caleb Williams getting injured. So that left tackle position's got to be played well. And if you got to bring Martellus Bennett back, which I don't love, but if you got to do that and throw him on that side next to him, or I think Gerald Everett's a pretty solid blocker too. If you got to throw him every play,
Did you say Martellus Bennett?
or not Martellus Bennett, sorry,
Mercedes Lewis?
Mercedes Lewis. Sorry.
Martellus Bennett. Let's bring him out of retirement.
He's pretty.
Let's get his brother too. We need some pass
But-
rush.
Yeah,
Michael Bennett.
but I that left tackle position concerns me still a little bit. I love Braxton Jones and his effort. I think Braxton Jones wants to be the best football player he can be. That's the difference between him and Nate Davis. But I think right now he's as of now he's shown me that he's played better. He's played better than a 5th-round pick, but he has shown me that he's not the guy who gets that $100 million contract at that position, right?
No, I think Braxton Jones is replaced. Hopefully he proves me wrong, man, and he steps up big this year. And I mean, the guys were saying it earlier in the chat, Darius and Trax, man. The cohesiveness of the unit, the health, all 5 guys, and I've been harping on this for months now, man. The fact that they're bringing back 4 out of 5 of their starting offensive linemen from last year is a huge deal. That cohesiveness, right? That whole cohesiveness is going to carry over. It's going to make a big impact on their performance in my mind. And if they stay healthy, it's a whole different story than if they start going down and we got to start interchanging all these parts. Lion King, what up? We got to start interchanging all these parts, man. We're going to be in trouble because we're going to be spending good money after bad at that point and just trying to plug the dam with our fingers. So, but Braxton Jones is not, he's a replacement level player in my mind. What are you laughing at?
I do want to thank everybody. We got 40 in the chat right now. We just got a couple of guys. I want to say thanks to Lion King for joining us. Paul, thanks for joining us. Paul says, I think when the regular season comes, these guys will have had wars. I think they're playing other teams will be easier than their own defense. I agree with that. They're going to play some good defenses. That every team does. But, yeah, they're playing – when it comes to the secondary, especially the back seven, when it comes to the linebackers and secondary, I don't know if they can play a better unit. It's the pressure. But once they start to play contact football, guys, it's the pressure that's going to concern me. I do also want to give a shout-out to another one of our sponsors. Want Chicagoland's most delicious and fun sports dining experience? Head to River. That is the River Street Tavern located at 102 River Street in East Dundee. Open Tuesdays through Sunday, guys. They are closed Monday. They do, I think, $2 burgers on Wednesday night. And I think on Sunday they do half-price wings. Go check it out, guys. The food is good. The service is all right. Service is good, guys. I know one of the bartenders there. You might have seen him on the show once before. Go check out River Street Tavern, guys.
I thought you were Kyle, dude, this whole time.
You know, my parents told me when I do the podcast, they think I look like Kyle for some reason. So I was like, I get uglier when the podcast is? I don't understand.
Guys, check out River Street. Check out River Street. It's good food.
Yeah, it's good spot, guys. And they do. It's a sports bar, guys. You know, they got any sport playing on every TV. So, if you want them to turn on the Chicago Sky game for some reason, they'll turn that on for you. But Darius says Kyler Gordon is a pivotal at the Nick. So yeah, this is something that Matt Eberflus has talked about a lot. I think it's the Mike linebacker, which would be T.J. Edwards, the 3 tech Javon.
No, it's Edmonds.
No, he's the middle.
Tremaine Edmonds is the Mike. That's the middle. Mike is the middle.
Oh yeah. So is it the Will or the Sam?
The Will is where all the tackles, all the run plays get funneled to. So the Will gets a chance.
So the Will is T.J. Edwards. So it's
the Will was Lance Briggs. Just to put it in perspective, Urlacher was the Mike, Briggs was the Will in the same defense.
And Hillemeyer was the nobody cares.
Will you go away?
So it's the Will linebacker, then T.J. Edwards, the 3 technique, Javon Dexter, which we talked about, and then Kyler Gordon is the third most important piece of the defense. And you know, we've had Adam Mason on the show a few times. Adam's a great guy, guys. I'm not making any knocks, but Adam feels that the Bears could greatly improve at the position. I think Kyler Gordon has gotten better every season. I really do, and I think he gets better over the course of the season as well. So I think Kyler Gordon is due to have a pretty good season. And
Kyler Gordon, I mean, you know, I've been banging the drum for him since he was a rookie. You know, he's a hell of a player, man. He throws his hat in there. He wants to hit people, and he's a little cannonball, and he'll take some chances, you know, and make some mistakes because of it. But, you know, he's learning, and I just think I agree with Darius 100%. He's going to be a great used in the blitz. He's getting better in coverage every snap he gets. You know, he started to get a lot better last year. I mean, when you have Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson, and like I just got such high hopes for Tyreek Stevenson. When they drafted him, I just saw like a prototypical NFL cornerback. That guy was. I think he can be a top 5 caliber cornerback, man. He might be better than Jalen Johnson this year. And you put Kyler Gordon, you know, on the inside with them. That's going to be really tough for opposing receivers to go.
Let's be honest, like you've said before, Dustin. Kyler Gordon basically plays linebacker on this team. He really does. He can cover tight ends. He can cover wide receivers. He covers the slot. He can go inside and out. He's a really athletic player. They call him Spider-Man. I know he was like a ballet dancer. The guy does backflips when he gets an interception. We've seen the athleticism. He's got a little more learning to do, I think, when it comes to the X's and O's of football. But the athletic ability is there for him to be. He's a monster. I mean, the guy, if you compare him to your average cornerback, he's a big kid. So I think he's got all the tools he needs. He's just it's gonna click. I really do. He seems to me like he's a player who learns. So you know, you see guys who have. We talked about it with Xavier Worthy. We talked about the athletic ability is there. How do we see it all come together? And I think every game, Kyler Gordon's kind of challenged himself to be better. Lion King says not rooting for the Lions as long as Goff is QB. Guess he's not a Goff fan. Chicago's my hometown.
Hated that deal you got.
You got me all fucked up, man. Are you a Bears fan? You got King in there. Are you a Vikings fan? You a Lions fan? I don't know.
Disney fan? You're a fan of Disney. He's a fan of Disney.
He says NBC Chicago's Alex Brown thinks we can make the playoffs. Is he right? I think absolutely. We've hammered that here on this channel, guys. I think we're all pretty in agreement that the Bears should at least win 10 games, considering they won 7 last year and they've done nothing but improve their roster, right?
I love AB number 96, and he's an awesome
I got
analyst. He
that
talks about
jersey.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and you've run into him before. He used to drive that big Tundra around Gray's Lake.
Yeah, he was a guest bartender at a bar called Shooters, guys, where I used to play competitive pool at. But cool guy. If you ever run into Alex Brown, he'll give you the time of day. He's not that I don't want any attention kind of guy. He loves to talk football too. Chicago Sports Podcast track says 63% of all defensive play calls are sub packages based on 3-4 receivers, etc. So nickel Kyler is huge. Yeah, as we talked, that position is one of the most pivotal on the Bears defense. You need it. You need that guy to be a playmaker. I think that's why when I think it was Ryan Pohl's first draft, and it was Eberflus's first season, right? Or was Matt Nagy still coach the team?
No. Poles took over with Flus.
Yeah, that was the first pick Ryan Pohl's ever made, right? That Eberflus ever made theoretically was Kyler Gordon. So they knew the importance of that position as well, guys. And I think they still believe that he's going to be an impact player as well as I do. He's originally a cornerback, but he plays nickel. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think Kyler can play outside as well. He can cover slots. He can cover linebackers. There's not a whole lot he can't do. He's not the best at any of it, to be honest, but he is quality at all of it. So
he's the Swiss Army knife of this defense, right? Like he's gonna,
and
he's a utilitarian,
and he's also a guy you don't want to get hit by, which is what I love too, man. Is he's you remember the play last season where he got in a little scuffle after the fact, and I think it was on the sideline and kind of ran out of bounds, him and a wide receiver, and they ripped his face mask off, and he held his helmet up to kind of show that like. So he got flagged for taking his helmet off, but he was trying to show the
refs. Like, no, I didn't.
My face mask is literally hanging off of my helmet, which is why it did not remain on my head. And he still got the flag, but like, I like everything about Kyler Gordon, guys. And Dustin can tell you, I was a big hater on Kyler for his first half of his rookie year. And I thought over the last 4 weeks of his rookie season, he was the best player on the Bears defense.
Yeah, we had a lot of arguments about Kyler Gordon, man.
Well, no, I was wrong.
Season because you kept coming down on him so hard, man. I was like, you got to give him some time. It's a tough position. Kyle, I remember, we definitely went at it about Kyler Gordon.
Yeah, and he ended up making me eat my words, guys. So I'm excited to see where Kyler goes this season because last year he was projected,
somebody did that.
I think he was projected last year to be the most improved player by a couple of ESPN writers. So I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of finally takes that last step that we're waiting on because he's not as good as he can be, but he's heading in the right direction. Dustin, I want to ask you a question. You seem to have watched or read a little bit more about these mini camps than I have. Have they said anything about Rome Odunze? Have we seen any stats from him? Catches, yards, touchdowns, anything? I know he threw.
No, man. All I've seen is that he can run, and he can run. Like he's gonna run by people. He's fast. He's a lot faster than we might have given him credit for, from what everybody who's seeing him live is seeing. Which is exciting. Because that's what you're looking for. You were looking for with a neighbors type. And if Odunze is bringing that gameplay speed, to the field with his ability to make those contested catches and beat the press, like you were saying. I mean, and he doesn't drop a lot of balls. I mean, he could be the whole package, man.
Yeah, and that brings me to another point, man, which you brought up earlier to me today, is with the contracts these guys are getting and the direction the Bears are heading, where it seems like they want to play young. They want a young roster because they just got what they hope is their franchise quarterback. You want to get young. Keenan Allen's on the last year of his deal. They might be able to restructure something, but if Rome Odunze is that guy, that dude, you're probably gonna watch Keenan Allen play somewhere else next year, guys, but are you gonna pay DJ Moore one of these contracts that these guys are getting?
Well, I mean, I feel like you're gonna have to. I mean, right now DJ Moore is making $20 million a year, and Keenan Allen's a little under that.
So you'd expect DJ to be in the 30 range, probably, if you're keeping them around.
If you're looking in a 30 range, you're talking about 4 players, man. Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, now that he got his extension with I think it was $76 million guaranteed. AJ Brown got $86 million guaranteed. He's at $32 million a year. And then obviously Justin Jefferson just got paid on Monday. he got 110 million guaranteed, and he's at 35 million a year. I don't think DJ Moore gets into that stratosphere. Do you? I don't think. I mean, we'll see what he does this year. If you put him on a team of loaded with receiver talent like this, and Caleb Williams, unlocks more potential in DJ Moore, and he comes out and puts up another 1,200 yard season and double-digit touchdowns, you're talking 28 to 32 million a year. You're going to have to give him in order to hold on to him. And I mean, wow, the Cubs got back in it. 5-5, top of the 7th. Nice.
Thanks, Trex.
So I mean, like, do you want to pay DJ Moore that money? I mean, you have to. That's the going rate. We're seeing these receivers get paid like crazy. I think, you've mentioned it. We've been talking about this for damn near a year now. CeeDee Lamb might end up being the highest paid receiver in the league once he gets his deal. So I mean, I
personally think
you gotta pay to play.
Yeah, I know this isn't Bears talk, guys, but hang on. I want to talk about that a little bit because Justin Jefferson is coming off a pretty substantial injury, guys, and an injury that receivers tend to it doesn't always necessarily go away. So because it was a hamstring, right?
Yeah, but he's young, man. He's young and he's athletic. Like,
but he is young, but CeeDee Lamb is younger, right?
CeeDee Lamb is 25, I believe. They
drafted one season after.
Yeah, one a year apart, I believe.
And he had a tremendous year, and he's gotten better every season, guys. I personally believe CeeDee Lamb will be the best receiver in football next year, and I think he's owed more than Justin Jefferson. I really do.
Why are you stealing my thunder on that? CeeDee Lamb's my guy. I said he's the best receiver.
I know he's your fantasy guy. I passed on CeeDee Lamb for Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
Don't say anything, Chad. I don't want to hear about it. I dropped Sam Laporta before the season started. I don't want to hear.
Well, if we're talking about CeeDee Lamb, man, I just got to say one thing that you don't hear talked about anywhere near enough is that this dude goes downfield and hits people when it's a running play. He blocks until the fucking whistle. No, I don't see receivers block any other receiver in the league blocking the way he blocks. Maybe some of those guys on the Niners, Ayuk and Debo, they'll get in there. But CeeDee Lamb is Jamar Chase mixed with Hines Ward, man. Like he's so much fun to watch. I love watching that guy. I love watching that guy block on a run play, man. It's just one of my favorite things to watch in football. I got to be honest.
And then CeeDee Lamb might actually get a bigger contract than Justin. I know that Jerry Jones promised he will finally reach a deal with CeeDee Lamb. He's not going to allow him to go anywhere else. So we'll keep
for sure. I mean, and again, if we're tying this to the Bears, you're seeing all these receivers. You're about to see Brandon Ayuk make Amon-Ra St. Brown money. You just saw Calvin Ridley get 92 million, like what, 50 million guaranteed.
It'd be hard for me to. I'd love to know what DJ Moore is going to ask for, man.
DJ Moore is going to ask for what he's worth and for what the going rate is, man, and it's going to be that 25 to 30 million dollar a year range for what he's worth, and the Bears are going to have to pony up if they want to keep him, and I hope they do. Honestly, I really hope they do.
They'll have a couple of years before they got to pay Caleb, before they got to pay Rome, so they could afford to probably keep DJ Moore around, and he's a young guy. DJ Moore is not the same as Keenan Allen. They're very similar players, but when it comes to where he is in his career, he's got a whole lot of football ahead of him. And he's durable. I don't know too many DJ, or I think he has missed more games due to suspension than injury. So definitely a guy that I think the Bears can afford to keep around. And if he asks for the money, I don't hope it doesn't go the whole Roquan Smith way. I hope the Bears are willing to cough it up. Cheryl also. Go ahead.
I hope Poles learned his lesson with that. It felt, again, we all know it got a little personal there where it didn't need to get that way. So I just hope that, they have that deal done before it even becomes, are we gonna franchise this guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just hope it's done and they're ready to have it done and they've got the cap space allocated, because DJ Moore is going to be an integral part of this offense this year and hopefully for a few more years going forward at least.
Guys, we got 50 in the chat. I want to thank you for joining us on this gloomy Tuesday night. And I do want to give a shout out to another one of our sponsors. That is Serendipity Ice Cream. Step into Serendipity Ice Cream parlor today and discover what delicious summertime taste they have. Like they're serving it up like heaven, like their delectable funnel cake sundae. I've said this before, guys. Not a big ice cream guy, but if you throw a funnel cake on hot dogs, I'll eat it.
Funnel cake on
Patrick,
hot dogs.
just like funnel cakes, man.
Not that much. That's disgusting, Brandon.
You know what? You keep drinking that, whatever the hell you're drinking. Is it a Coors Light?
It's the banquet bear.
You got a bomber, huh? He's got a little guy.
He's just a little guy.
He's just a little. So we're gonna transition real quick here, guys, because Dustin, I know there's something you have both been itching to talk about, and that is starting Thursday?
Thursday, yeah.
The NBA Finals, guys. And if you had asked me 2 weeks ago if these two teams were in the finals, who was going to win, I would have told you the Celtics 100%. But this is just different, man. I mean, this Luka's effort and this Mavericks team in general is just doing what it takes to win. And, they're close games, but most importantly, unlike Justin Fields, they close, man. They close when the game is tight. We have somebody joining us, Dustin.
Oh, snap. Oh, God. We want to talk NBA Finals? Buck Nasty, you here to talk NBA Finals with us?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Let's do it. Trax asked me if I'm having fun. I'm having a fucking blast. This has been a great show, I think. How do you think we're doing, Brandon?
I enjoyed it. For a while, I started to feel like the Bears, the subject of the Bears in general just became kind of dry, but I think we just beat up some pretty good subjects, and I think it's all stuff that obviously the season will dictate, but I always like to hear, obviously, yourself, Dustin, your opinion on especially things like that wide receiver room. I mean, who's going to step up? Who's going to kind of show that they're the man on this team? And, Moore's been here for a year, but Keenan Allen's been doing it for longer, and we got the kid who's coming in to prove himself in the draft. So it's exciting, man. It's exciting to talk about things, even when the Bears are at the lowest point in their off season, which is minicamp, if you ask me. But the draft is more exciting than minicamp. But Buck Nasty, ready to talk
part of
some
the
basketball?
process, man.
Buck, you ready to talk some basketball?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right on.
Thanks.
So, Dustin, I know you've had the Celtics for quite some time. I believe you had them pretty early in the season. But now that we've seen Luka's magic and the heroics over the last couple, and honestly, Kyrie Irving's playing some of his best basketball as well.
He's playing the best basketball he's played in 7 years.
Yeah. What's your view over this final?
Man, it became really tough to pick, because I love this Mavericks team. I was texting you about this Mavericks team in October, Brandon, telling just because of Luka, honestly, and they missed those playoffs, but they did that on purpose to get that 10th pick, man, and they got Lively out of it. He's been huge for them. They made some big trades. Kyrie Irving has just been no nonsense, just no distraction, just playing ball all year. He's missed 20 games this year. It's been a ride with that team. They were damn near 500 at the trade deadline, and they've just went on a tear once they got PJ Washington and Gafford and got rid of Grant Williams, man. And like that they dismantled the Timberwolves in that Western Conference Finals, and I think a lot of people were picking the Timberwolves. I wasn't. I picked the Mavericks. A lot of people were picking the Timberwolves because they had just beaten the defending champs, But you just see something in Luka and Kyrie at the end of a game. If they keep it close, man, it's really hard to beat them because both of those guys can get a bucket. They have multiple moves, multiple directions they can go. They have everything they need to get a bucket when it matters most. And I've been seeing Kyrie play defense more than I've ever seen him play. Luka is making big defensive plays. And
they've become a really over the course of the finals or the playoffs, they've become a really quality defensive team, man. And
they were becoming that before the playoffs, though.
Yeah, we're watching two guys who are on the Chicago Bulls that are a really big part of that, right? Derek Jones and Daniel Gafford, both really long players. Obviously tough for any player, whether you're inside or perimeter. Guys with that length is really tough to score against, but they're also contributing in every way, And then I showed you guys, and I believe is the first time since Jordan Luka is leading over the playoffs. He's leading all teams in points, rebounds, assists, steals, 3-pointers made, and that is just, I mean,
wasn't that LeBron? Didn't LeBron do that with the Cavs?
Yeah, it might have been LeBron. Might have been the last.
Yeah,
I know that
pretty sure it was
Jokic.
LeBron.
I know that Jokic didn't. I know that Jokic did not actually ever do that. And yeah, like you said, man, if Luke is on your team and the game's close at the end, I'll bet Luke all day. I don't care if it's Jason Tatum and
But you know,
and Jaylen Brown.
the thing is, man, the Celtics have been the best team in the league for the entire season, even in the playoffs, man. They have the best net rating. Their net rating was 11 something in the regular season. It's 10.8 in the playoffs. They were first in offense, second in defense in the league in the regular season, second and third in the playoffs. It's not. It's everyone's kind of sleeping on them because of who they played, but they're still really fucking good. And Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are averaging the same amount of points per game that Luka and Kyrie are for these playoffs, man. So like you can't just dismiss the Celtics. It's hard to pick against Luka. Luka's our favorite player, right? Luka's the guy that we want to see win these finals. But I just have a hard time picking against the Celtics team. What do you think, Buck? Buck, you there?
Ed. Okay.
Yeah. Are you? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, man. Yeah. What's up?
Yeah,
we were talking Celtics Mavericks.
I heard everything you said. I haven't followed basketball, fellas, since Michael Jordan.
Like Michael Jordan, like Wizards, like the early 2000s, or did you stop in the 90s?
No, when he finally finished playing. Not the Wizards, no, with the Bulls.
Yeah. So it's been 2 decades since you
at least, yeah.
Well, that's all right, Buck, because we got a question from Paul, and I'm going to throw it at you. What do you think our defense? This is referring back to the Bears. What do you think our defense will be ranked by the end of the year, and where do you think the offense will be ranked? He wants to know the season final rankings on the Bears' offense and defense.
Well, the offense is. I know he said he has defense first, so let me do that first because defense, I think I got a pretty good idea of where we'll be or where I see us being. I don't think like last year we ended up just the final 5 for possibly 6 games. We was in the top 5, and I don't think we finished in the top. Excuse me.
They were in the final 6 weeks of the season. They were the first ranked defense in the NFL.
Okay. But I don't think we finished in the top 5. I do think we finished in the top 10. But that's with what we got now. I'm hopeful that, and I believe that Poles is kind of waiting to see, who may pop up and be available for another edge rusher. And I think he's waiting for that or a possible 3-tech to come available, either or both. That he could pick up reasonable, but that'll give us a real boost. Now, if either or both of those things happen, I could see us surely being in the top 5 throughout the season. Offense, man, it's a toss up. I really, we got all kinds of weapons. We got all kinds of tools. We got a guy that's supposed to be a stud quarterback, but he is a rookie, and I don't think he's just going to come out flaming. I really think it's going to take a little bit. There's going to be some growing pains there, but I'm hoping that he is what everybody thinks he is, and if that's the case with all them weapons. And this offensive line and depending on who you talk to about this offensive line, I don't know who did the daggone thing, but just yesterday I seen they got whoever did this rating, and I looked. I just put on there. I just commented 2 words. I wish they had us ranked as the currently uh, the 10th offensive line in the league. Now, I don't think we're anywhere. I don't think we're there. But I wish. um, I'm hoping that the guys they got in the free agency will help. Uh, I, I'm not overly confident about it. I really like the kid. I never remember his name that we picked up in the third round at 75.
Kieran Amagaji.
Yeah, I like him. I understand that he's still kind of healing from an injury, but he's supposed to be a real bruiser, and I hope that he makes his way to the starting lineup actually, because I'm not a big fan. Braxton did all right,
Oh,
okay, but
yeah.
I stats wise he's better than all right supposedly, but when I watch the games, uh,
He's
it doesn't
frustrated.
translate to what they're saying the stats are on him. I really think we could get better there.
Well, that's interesting, Buck, because earlier Brandon was talking. I mean, Amagaji has played guard and tackle throughout college, right? He's played both
Yeah,
positions a decent amount of snaps. Brandon was talking earlier about him supplanting Nate Davis at that right guard position. I
yeah.
mean,
I hope
who
they don't
you
do
think
that. I
that
mean,
makes?
I don't like. And that's another thing about Davis. Depending on who you talk to, they say, "Oh man, he had a bad year last year. He really is a good football player. He's a good right guard." Well, he did have a bad year last year in so
Yeah.
many ways, not just on the field. And he had his problems that kept him off the field, and personal problems and whatever. He didn't have his shit together. I didn't like him at all, and I hope he proves me wrong. But I
So you want
don't.
to see
I
Kieran
I
starting at
really
left
want to
tackle?
see that new kid. I really want to see him at tackle. I really do.
Okay, so that I mean, but that's a big jump for a rookie, who was a
Mm-hmm.
third rounder to start at left tackle versus, maybe, bringing them in slowly in that interior
Well,
position. Then
Braxton was a fifth rounder and started his rookie season.
yeah, but you're saying how he's not that good.
I don't think he's that good.
Yeah, me neither. I think he's a replacement level player.
Yes, a good replacement level player, but not a starter.
No, yeah, for sure.
I agree
But
with you.
yet with him in the lineup, supposedly they got us ranked as the 10th offensive line.
Yeah, I
Well,
think that might be Shane Waldron's ranking.
Right.
I agree with you 100% on the defense. I think a lot of measures I've read that people have them projected top five. I don't see them finishing top five. I think they've finished somewhere between 5 to 12 or 6 to 12. Sorry, I do think that they're going to pick up kind of where they left off. They're going to take the ball away this year. I think when they play quality offensive lines, they're going to get overwhelmed, and when those quality offensive lines are in front of quality quarterbacks, it's going to be a problem for the Bears defense. Um, and
Yeah,
and
always is.
and the offense, if the offensive line can hold up, man, if we can keep the same five guys on the field, I think the offensive unit in its entirety can finish top 10. I really believe that if Caleb has the season that I'm projecting him to have, if he's somewhere near 4,000 yards, which I think he'll throw over 4,000 yards, I don't like the 30 touchdown mark. I really don't. I don't like that projection. I think he'll finish under 30 touchdowns. I do think he'll finish with over 4,000 yards. I think the Bears run the ball pretty efficiently as well. So I think their offense is capable of finishing somewhere between, I don't know, maybe 6 to 10.
Yeah, man,
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, Brandon.
I see Caleb Williams breaking that 4,000 yard mark this year for sure, and I don't think 30 touchdowns is out of the question. That 28 to 32 range is kind of appealing, if you're talking about the amount of weapons that Caleb has to distribute the ball to. But here's the interesting thing: we're talking about the offensive line. I really think the offensive line, if it can be ranked in the 15 to 18 range, this can be the 10th best offense in the league. I don't think we need a top 10 offensive line to be a top 10 offense in the NFL this year. So I think you're shooting for you're getting the best you can out of this offensive line, and doing everything you can to help them with the 2 tight end sets and getting the ball out quick and establishing a run game, because a lot of these guys are like it better moving forward than stepping backwards. So I think you can do some things to alleviate some of our concerns with the offensive line and still have a top 10 offense. I do think this defense, I mean, just with the stuff you're hearing out of camp already just today, like, I get excited, man. I could see the 7th ranked defense in the NFL this year. Maybe it's with a chance to sneak into that top 5, because you're bringing back a lot of the same players. You're adding some solid players in there. You do need to add another pass rusher, like Buck's saying.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that, because but again, I like I said earlier, I think the key to unlock it all is Javon Dexter. If Javon Dexter becomes the player that they drafted him to be, this defense looks a lot better than what we're thinking based on play last year.
Sure, and Booker's a wild card. I mean, he could come in on fire. I don't see that, but I mean, I got high hopes for him. He's solid.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
I don't want to, and I don't want to lose any viewers here. This is speculative, and not a topic we love. But I've thought about this. If the Bears, if Caleb Williams were to suffer a long-term injury,
oh man,
they had a quarterback, Division II, undrafted, went 2-2 in 4 games last year.
Be quiet.
With
I'm on the podcast.
With the offense the Bears have assembled over the offseason, could Tyson Bagent win with this team?
No.
Dustin. He cut you off, Brandon. He said no.
What do you think?
No.
If Tyson Bagent played 8 games, what do you think his record would be?
Which 8 games?
He doesn't have to play.
Yeah, that's a good question, Buck, right? Is it the game
Yeah.
against the Patriots and the Cardinals and the Panthers?
Hey, that kid's all right. He's really not bad. But
he's really not good.
I don't want him starting, man. I really don't.
Because it's something the Bears have not addressed. The backup quarterback.
Well, look, with what we're working with, he should be 500. I would think.
So,
right?
Do you think if he had to play 8 games for the Bears, do you think he's 4-4?
3-5. That guy cannot throw the ball down the field. It don't matter how many weapons you have.
I don't think you have to
pass the ball down the field.
I don't know what this receiver core.
I don't think Shane Waldron's offense is going to be pushing it down the field, fellas. I think it's going to be a lot of short stuff. I think it's real quarterback friendly system.
But you need those deep shots to score
occasionally.
Points. Yeah,
occasionally you got to stretch the field.
That's the way this league is going.
Caleb's going to have to take those shots. And Geno Smith did a lot, and it's proved pretty successful in Waldron's system, because they had a guy like DK Metcalf who you can't not throw the ball downfield to. I mean, how are you going to not throw the ball downfield to a guy that large?
Right.
So, and DJ, like Dustin said before, DJ Moore is a really quality receiver at beating coverage. So
yeah, you have to take the deep
and I feel
Tyson Bagent can't do that.
But that's what I was going to say. That if Tyson Bagent ended up being the starting quarterback on the Bears, Shane Waldron would have to change a lot of things. You know what I mean? And like Dustin said, he's a guy who we hope is good at identifying the strengths of a player, but most importantly, the weaknesses. If you end up, and I'm sorry, guys, I don't want to beat up speculation too much. We all want Caleb Williams to be there from start to finish, but it does concern me that the Bears have still yet to address. I don't think Brett Rippon even makes the team. I really don't. I don't think he's on the roster when the season starts. So
I don't think so either.
So
I don't think so either. But I really didn't even want to have this conversation, Brandon. Out of fear, I don't like our chances without the kid.
I think Caleb's a very durable player. He doesn't have any injury history. He's elusive. He doesn't really take strong hits. Even when he is tackled, he seems to kind of get the best on the other player. He's aware, man. He's aware of putting his body in a position in which he's not going to get killed. So
can we touch on that comment there, Brandon? Because it's kind of about the defense here. The defense, they spent the whole time on the field all season. Like we were a lot of 3-and-outs for this
Oh,
Bears
yeah.
offense last year. Right?
No, man. Kyle looked it up the last time we did a podcast. They were not. They were actually somewhere near the bottom of 3-and-outs. They were terrible on third down. They were one of the worst.
Oh, yeah.
On third down.
They were terrible on third
They
down.
were nowhere near the top of the NFL for 3-and-outs. Nowhere near it.
What are you talking about?
Bears,
our offense?
The Bears offense was nowhere near the top of the list for 3-and-outs. They were somewhere between mid to bottom.
Somewhere between mid to bottom. So they controlled the clock, and what was their time of possession?
Somewhere between 15 and 32, where they were on 3-and-outs. I know the Jets were the first place team in the league in 3-and-outs.
Okay, but what was their time of possession?
I know
the Bears offense, right?
I know
because that's what we're talking about. How long is that offense on the field?
Over the final 5 weeks of the season, they were third in the league in time of possession, and offensive possessions entirely. To have the ball the third most amount of times in the NFL over the last 5 weeks of the year. That's what that Bears offense, and they were egregious.
Yeah, but look who they played too.
They didn't play well. They were still terrible. Often than not, they were terrible. I mean, they were terrible. That's why anybody who rooted for Justin Fields to remain the quarterback just checked out halfway through the year, apparently.
Well, when you're playing a team like the Falcons that can't do shit on offense either, when you're playing the Browns had a terrible offensive game against us. The Packers only put up 17 in that game. I mean, those were some muddy games. So I guess that's tough to really dive into here. But I would say that if you have an offense that is more high powered and that is putting up points and that is controlling the clock better throughout the year, you are putting your defense in a better position. If you're able to, yeah, right. And so, I mean, that is important to note when you're talking about going into this year, because like you say, how a defensive unit is cohesive from the front four to the back seven. It's just as cohesive between the offense and the defense.
Before I'm corrected, that was what Kyle told me, and I'm reading by a website I really don't trust, those StatMuse, which every time I quote them, somebody tells me I'm wrong. Says the Bears were top 5 in 3-and-outs.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense to me that they didn't lead the league in 3-and-outs with the way that offense looked.
Their third down conversion rate was 41%, which was ranked 10th in the league.
Okay. But that doesn't So
that's throughout the season, Brandon.
Yeah, over the course of the 2023 season. The last season with Justin Fields.
Yeah, Track says we all watched the damn games. They didn't move. Those stats didn't match up.
Yeah, you watch the game. That doesn't mean you got a stat calculator in your brain.
Yeah, and I don't. So I see what Trax is saying. I do. I'm not.
It's a valid point, man, and it's something you got to think about.
I'm not a firm believer. I'm not a firm believer that their defensive ranking is going to go through the roof because they're on the field less. I really don't. The Bears' defense was terrible on third down. They were
absolutely.
Well, Brandon, then
we would be like
gassed.
They'd have third and 20, and they'd give it to them.
It's just common sense that the more time you spend on the field, the less effective you're going to be as time goes on. You're just getting worn out. That's just common sense. So I would just say that if you're talking about the offense that we expect, if you expect a top 5 to 10 offense, then that does impact the defense in a positive way.
The Bears
agree on that.
Well, you guys expect it. I got my fingers crossed. That would be great.
The Bears were ranked 4th to last. The Bears defense was ranked 4th to last in the league on third down. So they couldn't
get off the field. They couldn't
get themselves off the damn.
Yeah, no, that's very true too. And a lot of that has to do with the scheme that Matt Eberflus deploys, in my opinion. That if you're in a zone, it's a lot easier to get a pass 4 yards down the middle.
And there was, and I agree, like Buck just said, and I agree. There was a lot of third and longs where
they had them backed up so many times and let them go.
Yeah, man.
Watching Bears football my whole life, it was like the one thing when they were like, it's the third and long. You knew as a Bears fan, like, okay, the defense is going to either get a sack or an interception. We're going to get off the Bears last year. The defense just couldn't get off the damn field.
Right.
And that
it was hard to watch at times. Yeah.
And what does that have most to do with? honestly, third and long. What's the one thing a team needs to do in third and long? Just pressure the damn quarterback.
Yeah, but a lot of teams do the opposite of that. A lot of teams, especially teams that run zone coverage, they sit back and they go to the hashes, right? And they go to the marker, and they're just trying to keep the play in front of them instead of being aggressive. I've always thought the opposite. You want like
I'm
you're
with
saying
you.
right now, get after the quarterback. That was the one thing that always killed me, even with Lovie Smith.
Yeah, and that's the situations where you want to be a ball hawk, right? I mean, they have to force the ball, so
yeah,
go after it.
Well, I will just say,
but we're sagging back.
Today, Keenan Allen was talking about how annoying this Bears defense was and how they looked like a top 5 defense to him. So, I mean, that is encouraging when you hear a guy who's just come to this team talking about it. He's getting pissed off because they're kicking his ass in practice, and he knows that they got something special there. So that's cool to hear.
Well, for what little bit he's seen, yeah. Well, that's good. It is encouraging.
That's
Hey, quick question, guys. Going back to that offensive line ranking that I seen yesterday. Guess who they had ranked as the number 1 offensive line in the league?
On the Bears?
No,
the
league.
Number 1 line in the NFL. They have ranked whoever was doing that ranking that had the Bears at 10.
Huh.
The Packers?
Detroit.
Yeah, that's
Detroit and Philadelphia were. I think every major source had Detroit and Philadelphia as number 1 and 2. But Philadelphia lost Jason Kelce, so they're not going to be there anymore.
Actually, I wish I was looking at that thing. We were above Philadelphia.
That's whoever did
offensive line.
Whoever did that rankings got their shit twisted.
It was kind of twisted. I'm telling you, there was some.
Hey, Buck, you want to hear something interesting?
Sure.
Pro Football Focus has Braxton Jones ranked higher than Darnell Wright as an offensive tackle in the NFL.
I seen that.
Sometimes
I don't agree.
Well, like Trash just said, you can't. Stats don't tell the whole story. When you watch, you can see you see a little bit. The PFF can be very misleading sometimes. We all lean on it.
When PFF does a lot of because they split offensive
Cubs
linemen.
just took the lead, by the way, guys, 7-6.
PFF splits offensive linemen down the middle when it comes to pass blocking and run blocking, and Braxton Jones is in the top tier of the league in run blocking in the NFL.
That's what I was saying. This offensive line likes to run block, and if the Bears come out, accentuating that and really pushing the run game to start off a drive, they're going to get them really involved, and that's going to make them better on that pass blocking play. I just think there's certain ways that the Bears can design this offense to really help that offensive line. And again, if they're just 15th in the league, man, you can have a pretty dynamic offense behind that with the weapons we have.
Well, everything I've read about projecting Waldron's offense is that he's going to be run first. He'll remind us of, Chicago Bears, that what we've always been. They say it should be run heavy, play action, a lot of short stuff to open up the long stuff for his passing goes.
Yeah, and it's a zone running scheme, which is going to make it easier on that offensive line too, because all they have to do is go forward. The running back gets to pick the hole, So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out. If they come out really heavy on the run, and I keep hearing that, but Seattle was 26th in rushing last year.
Well, their offensive line was pretty banged up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they were rough, So I mean, and I think our offensive line is better than that offensive line that they put out there last year. So hopefully we see an improvement in those numbers. But it's just going to be interesting to see where Waldron chooses to focus. His early on game plans. Is he trying to establish the run like Buck is saying, and who's he doing that with? Because I personally think the Bears' best running game success is going to come out of 3 wide receiver sets. I really do. The zone blocking with the 3 receivers on the field, opening up that
Spread them
box.
out.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to make the biggest impact
Well,
with this Bears team in the run game.
You expect, I would imagine, guys, any team that drafted a rookie quarterback this year to start, which I believe the Broncos did. I believe the Commanders did. I don't think the Patriots are going to start Drake May.
Nope.
I don't think that JJ McCarthy's going to start for the Vikings. But those teams that have rookie quarterbacks starting are going to run the ball as much as possible. They're going to try to establish that first and foremost, even with the first overall pick in the draft and Caleb Williams. You might see that change pretty drastically over the course of the year. Honestly, if they trust Caleb Williams, I don't know that we're still going to be pitching the whole run heavy scheme. I would imagine. I don't want to see, you said, Buck, something you said bothered me. It's going to be this traditional Chicago Bears. And it's like,
I do that.
we don't have that. we don't have that quarterback though. You know what I mean? For the
That's what I'm here
time
for,
ever.
Brandon.
No, and I by everything I've read, by every source I've read, you're right. And I keep reading this run everything, but for the first time ever, guys, we have a receiving core and a quarterback that we don't really want to see that traditional.
Okay, but this ain't Madden. The run game is the quarterback's best friend. Any good quarterback will tell you that. What did Pacheco do in the playoffs for Patrick Mahomes last year? This past season,
Yeah,
Pacheco, carried them in some of those games.
They were, and the Chiefs were a run heavy team. They played defense. The Chiefs played Bears football last year, but they're.
What do you say? What do you say, Dustin? No, I heard him.
But their skill players were pretty weak, man. I mean, that was a pretty bad group of skill players, if you ask me. Outside of Pacheco, their receiving core was ugly, man. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, they looked horrible early, and they looked great late.
I can't tell you there was a white guy there catching balls at the end of the season. Kadarius Toney's
it's a dance though, man, and you have to choreograph it right. And if you're not establishing the run against a guy like Brian Flores, Caleb Williams' helmet is going to be on sideways.
Well, those are the games. Those are the games that I said. Those are the games in which I said the Bears will run the most. And to be honest with you, man, the best way to beat blitzes is short stuff, quick stuff. To be honest, quick release, getting those receivers open quickly. But I also believe that when you start, like, if Caleb is the guy that we project him to be, guys, like, you look at a team like the Bengals, who has a Joe Burrow and has quality receivers.
Higgins and Chase.
I don't consider them a run-heavy team. I think they rely on the run when it's necessary. I think they try to establish the run to take pressure off their pass game. But I think once they establish the ability to pass, that's what they rely on.
But when they went to the Super Bowl, Brandon, Joe Mixon was balling out for them. Joe Mixon was a big part of their offense. I still
wouldn't have called them a run-heavy team when they went to the Super Bowl. I wouldn't have considered them that.
It's not, and I think you're misconstruing what we're talking, and not necessarily like. And I guess basically, if we're going to say verbatim what Buck just said, I mean, but you have to establish the run in order to get the pass going.
Yeah, but Trax is saying run will set up the pass, but
pass sets up the run too.
Yeah, I'm not smarter than anybody else, but you cannot run the ball if you can't pass. I mean, it just doesn't. We've watched that for how many years with the Bears?
We just saw the Bears lead the league in rushing 2 years ago, but set the pass.
I'm not referring
55 years.
I'm not referring to 1 year specifically. I'm just saying, like, we know that when you can't pass the ball, a defense becomes pretty aware of what your game plan is moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
And we've watched running backs like Matt Forte who have been able to get the best of guys that load the box. I mean, Matt Forte, and that's why I love the signing of DeAndre Swift, because let's say Caleb is having trouble throwing the ball in a game, and the box is loaded and we can't really necessarily run the ball all that well. DeAndre Swift's going to catch the hell out of the ball, right? I mean, I would expect
he's good. He's a good receiver out of the backfield, no doubt about it.
And I think he'll have 40 receptions this year like he has every year of his career.
One thing that's not talked about enough is how little the check down game actually exists in Shane Waldron's offense. He is not a check down offense.
I had Kenneth Walker on my fantasy team and Charbonnet. Neither one of them caught the ball.
They don't catch balls out of the backfield out of Waldron's offense, man. So that's something. Again, is he adjusting to his players? Is he adjusting to his playmakers?
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
Yeah, right. Because because if we're just going off of what he's done before, that's a high expectation for DeAndre Swift. But I think he should get that, and I think it's going to be helpful to Caleb if they do get the running back involved in the passing game because they have a very capable one.
Let me ask you guys this question then, in regards to, we're talking about, will the Bears be a run-heavy team throughout the season? Will they eventually start to pass if Caleb? How many yards do you think Caleb Williams runs for?
500.
You really think so? That's a pretty high number.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
I was expecting like anywhere between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the highest that I think he'll go. But yeah, I mean, the 3 to 4 probably makes more sense.
I'm thinking in there.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the kid's got a massive lower body, and he's got the ability to run. And like Dustin said, what we were saying earlier, if those 3 receivers are on the field, you can't spy. I mean, you can't, like, if Cole Kmet and DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and Roma Dunze are on the field, you can't spy. You can't. You can't spy Caleb. And I do believe he's going to exploit defenses that don't take that seriously. And I know he's not Justin Fields. And the thing that I'll say about Justin Fields, I was never his biggest fan, but guy was an incredible athlete, and he kept defenses on their heels. But I don't think you're losing too much of that with Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams is also going to do the whole I'm still going to throw the ball.
Yeah, but supposedly he when he scrambles, he is not looking to run. He's still looking to pass.
Which makes his running game obviously even a little more, not than Justin Fields, but more dangerous in general. Is like, if teams believe until he crosses the line of scrimmage, we got to cover.
They have to cover, yeah.
He's going to take off, man. And maybe Dustin's right. Maybe 500 rushing yards from Caleb Williams is the difference. You know what I mean?
I mean, we saw it last year with Patrick Mahomes, man. Like, he's he runs when he has to, and in games where he has to, he does it a lot. I think Caleb is going to be in that same situation. Like, if they're taking away,
because he can.
Yeah, right. If they're taking away the passing game, he's going to run when it's an emergency, and when it is, that's when he's going to catch the defense off guard, and he's going to get chunk 11 to 18-yard runs out of that because they got their backs turned to him. And just in regards to the pass setting up the run and the run setting up the pass, and that comment that Trax was making, he was making it in both ways, saying, like, you have that running back, you're freeing up space if you get that linebacker off the field. Like, what I've been saying, right? Like, if you spread them out, you get that nickel or dime package out there, the pass is then setting up the run because the threat of the pass is opening things up. And I just think we have to really expect the Bears to take advantage of that. I think we could see a heavy run attack out of this team, especially given they have a defensive head coach, man. Like, I think that's going to do exactly what you want for Caleb Williams, Brandon.
One thing I think that does, and if you're right about Shane Waldron, I'm not going to talk too much about Shane Waldron. I don't know what he's going to be. That's the guy the Bears fans could be calling for his head in 6 weeks from now, or 6 weeks into the season. But that run umping up, pass umping run, and spreading the field, I think that's the check down becomes the most viable part of an offense. I think getting the ball to Swift when the defense believes the Bears might run, or when we spread the defense thin, when you put those 3 wide receivers on the field. DeAndre Swift catching the ball is going to be imperative to this team's success, and also to Caleb Williams. He's a rookie, you know what I mean? That check down option is probably the most comfortable thing for a rookie quarterback in an NFL offense. It really is. And I think that's why Ryan Poles added him. Now,
he didn't. Justin Fields making that throw.
Oh, God. He had a 73% completion rate behind the line. Did you know that? He had a 73 completion percentage behind the line of scrimmage. 7 of 10 passes completed. That is outrageous, man. Like, when I saw that, I couldn't fathom it. Like, the quarterback, the NFL average quarterback behind the line of scrimmage should be like a 98% completion rating, man. I mean, what the hell is that, dude? Unless they consider like a throwaway, you know what I mean? A ball out of bounds. If that's considered like a pass from behind the line of scrimmage, I don't know. Maybe it is, but like 73%, man.
No, I don't think you can throw it out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. So.
what the hell is that, dude? 73%. I mean, that's just
I thought it was worse than that just from
no.
watching.
That dude, that's that. Yeah, you would think, but that is so far below the league average.
Yeah.
The league average is like 89, and good quarterbacks are like 96. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a good stat, Brando.
It's a gimme. It's when I, you know me, I started to dive deep into Justin Fields statistics when I went into Fields versus Caleb wars online before the Justin Fields trade, when I was trying to convince people like,
Yeah.
as good as you think Fields is, it could be better, man, and people just wouldn't buy it, and I had to just jam these statistics down their throat because like there's the things you guys just don't
Justin
read.
Fields in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
His splits.
What was it? 31. He had a 31 passer rating in the bottom 4 minutes of the fourth quarter over the entire season.
In the last 2 minutes of each half.
When the weather is lower than 60 degrees and the wind's blowing southwest.
It was too much, man. We got a question from Trax about Seattle's running backs. I don't know the answer to that question. How many receiving yards and targets did they have last year in the Shane Waldron offense?
I know this. I know that Charbonnet was a pretty skilled receiver when he was in college, but Kenneth Walker was not a receiver. I mean, Kenneth Walker was the best running back in college the year he was drafted. He had 1,600 yards and 18 touchdowns the year he was drafted to Seattle. That's in 12 games. In 12 games, Kenneth Walker had 1,600 yards and 18 touchdowns rushing the ball. He didn't catch the ball. He was not a receiver. They didn't utilize him in that role. He wasn't going to be utilized in that role in Seattle either. But I do know that Charbonnet, who got a little more playing time towards the end of the season, is pretty well known for being a receiver. But I think Dustin's right. Waldron just didn't really. It just wasn't part of his scheme. He didn't really. The check down thing is something that some teams do really well, and
it was non-existent,
really poorly. Yeah, you know, the Packers are always good at it. The Bears are pretty consistent with it. The Vikings have never done it. The Vikings are always a run first. You know, I mean, they don't throw the ball to their running back very often. There's just teams that have it kind of.
Charbonnet had 40 targets, 33 receptions for 209 yards. Kenneth Walker, 29 receptions, 37 targets, 259 yards.
That's a start. So
wow.
Kenneth Walker is not that dude, and Charbonnet didn't really get the time I thought he would get early in the season. When Walker was injured, Charbonnet played more, and he did start to get the targets. But Walker is just not that kind of player, man. He's very much kind of comparative to like.
So again,
Derek Henry.
That might have been Waldron just adjusting to the players he had and the skill sets that he had available to him at those positions.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think Waldron ever saw Walker as a guy we're going to throw the ball. I think that's why they drafted Charbonnet. They knew Walker didn't have that ability.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I believe you're probably right there.
They drafted Walker pretty high, and then they drafted Charbonnet fairly high as well the following year. I think they knew
third rounder.
Yeah, I think they knew it was a part of the game, an offense they just didn't have. But I do think Waldron knows why Ryan Poles brought DeAndre Swift into this offense. The Bears had two quality running backs. I think Roschon will have a better year than he did last year, and I think Khalil Herbert's run for 4.9 yards per carry over his career. I think they brought Swift in here to give Caleb. I think they knew when they signed DeAndre Swift they were drafting Caleb Williams.
I think you're wrong about it. I think Swift is the lead running back.
I think he is as well. I think Swift's going to take the majority of the carries, but I also think
Herbert is probably not on this roster.
In passing downs, I don't see anybody else but DeAndre Swift being on the field. I mean, like
Cubs win, guys, 7-6. They were down 5-0.
Wow.
And Roschon played pretty good pass coverage. Khalil is terrible. You're not going to see Khalil.
Thanks, Cheryl.
You're not going to see Khalil on passing downs. It's just, even if he is on the roster, he's not going to be in there on passing downs. Yeah. Roschon proved to be, for a young guy, a pretty good pass. I
think what it comes down to, man, just in general, is game breakers at the running back position. The Bears haven't had one. You know, DeAndre Swift can.
Well, they did. They did. They didn't give him any time.
But I'm going to say this, guys.
Who are you referring to, Buck?
Oh, the kid they brought in from Carolina. The one game he played because somebody got injured or whatever, he ran for like 4 touchdowns.
Oh,
Deontay
Donta
Foreman.
Foreman.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call him a game breaker though. He's not running away from anybody. You know, he's not making people miss. He's just again more of a replace. Did you want them to hold on to Donta Foreman? I thought he was more of a
I'm not
kind of
so sure.
replacement
I'm
player.
not sure because I didn't get to see enough of him. I think
yeah.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say this because DeAndre Swift last year, and a lot of people are kind of hanging their heads on this. I don't. It doesn't. DeAndre Swift's running ability doesn't excite me too much. He was 1,000-yard rusher last year. It was the most yards he ever rushed for on an Eagles offense that's pretty good at establishing the run.
He led the. I'm pretty sure his yards before contact led the league.
And
Swift,
his most
because they had a stellar offensive line,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
and
Yeah.
his most rushing yards on Detroit was 600 in a season. I believe that DeAndre Swift is not 1,000-yard rusher this year. He did, however.
Did he have a full season in Detroit? Did he ever play a full season? I don't think he did.
No, he's never
he played a full season last year for the Eagles.
He played 16 games last year. He's never played a full season in his career.
Well, that's a full season. That's 16 games.
He had
It's 17 now, Dustin.
He had 1,000 yards rushing last
forgetting.
season. He had 1,000 yards rushing last season and 200 yards receiving. I would bet those numbers almost balance out. I would bet he's somewhere in the 600 range rushing and somewhere in the 400 to 500 range receiving. That's what I'm thinking for DeAndre Swift this year.
It's David Montgomery. David Montgomery killing it in Detroit, man. I think they're going to have 2,000-yard rushers up there this year. That's kind of scary.
I think DeAndre Swift is going to be one of the most impactful players in the NFL, which terrifies me because that guy.
Jahmyr Gibbs, you mean?
Oh yeah, some Jahmyr Gibbs. You get the ball in that guy's hand, man. It's frightening, honestly.
Yeah, he's special.
I think he was underutilized by that Lions team. I think this year they're going to come in thinking like he should probably get the bulk of the work from David Montgomery, to be honest. And Montgomery had a lot of touchdowns.
I think the Bears think they have that thunder lightning type of thing with Swift and Roschon or Herbert, whoever they fall on, who's going to be that.
Roschon's a bruiser, man.
Yeah, man. So I think the Bears are kind of envisioning a similar thing to what Detroit had there with Montgomery and Gibbs.
Oh, can we beat up this question, guys? Paul just asked, what position do you think the Bears should draft next year? I would assume he's meaning the first round pick. It is edge rusher.
Yeah, if nothing changes, absolutely, I'm with you, edge.
I mean, in terms of necessity, I mean, yeah. Unless it's left tackle, guys. Unless Braxton Jones has a bad season, and I'd rather get a left tackle and maybe sign another defensive end in free agency.
I haven't
because those left tackles are super expensive if you're going to go get one that's worth a damn.
I haven't looked at next year's draft. I would imagine there's going to be fewer like guaranteed starting left tackles than there are edge rushers, and I don't think
there's a shit ton of them in this upcoming draft, Brandon. Tackles.
I think the Bears. Where do you think the Bears finish in the draft? Where do you think the Bears place in the draft?
I mean, hopefully 20, 21. That's what I'm hoping. I've seen them projected at 18, but hopefully they make the playoffs and they're firmly in that 20 to 23 spot. But I haven't done enough research to know who's going to be available. I mean, if you're just talking about straight necessity, I think the biggest needs on the Bears right now are defensive end, left tackle, and center. So, I mean, you want to focus on one of those positions, but that could change this year. Who knows?
Unless Byard shocks them, I would imagine safety is a position they also address. I don't know that Byard's the long-term answer for the Bears. I think they got a bunch of youth and players they like in their secondary, and that's the one guy who kind of sticks out like a sore thumb to me. I don't think Byard's the answer for them.
Yeah, but you're not drafting a safety in the first round, man.
No, not in the first. I think it is something they're going to prioritize. I think Eberflus is really big on whoever's drafting, whoever's scouting defensive backs on that team, man, deserves a goddamn promotion. Honestly, like that guy is. They find talent even late in rounds at that position. I think Terrell Smith's a really good player, man. Like I really like whoever's scouting DBs and on the Bears roster might be a GM one day. Honestly, that guy is.
Paul, to answer your question, left tackle. We're drafting left tackle next year.
Yeah, I'm defensive end, edge,
Yeah, I can't see it.
and Dustin, man, I've been preaching for decades that they don't pay enough attention to the offensive line, and I'm still not convinced
We
we've
haven't drafted the way we need
got
to.
it into shape. I think that's where we're needing help, but I think the single the team I'm looking at right now, and it can all change by the end of the season. It could change before the beginning of the season. I hope
Yeah.
for the better, but team I'm looking at right now, I think the biggest need is the defensive end.
I think the biggest need this year to compete is a defensive end. I think as we see this season progress, we're gonna really realize that Braxton Jones, as much as we like him and as much as we love his effort, he's just not the guy to be the blindside protector for Caleb Williams. If you don't get a Ferrari and not have a garage to park it in.
Yeah, but
Well, what
if
happens? What happens if that 75 pick comes in and does a good job at left tackle?
That's a whole different thing, and I do think that was part of it. It's
And it's
insurance having
possible.
to pay Braxton Jones that drafting of Kieran Amagaji.
well, and you got to think.
That throws a wrench in what I'm saying for sure, Buck. I'll have to
Yeah.
admit that.
Well, and you got to think. At the end of this year, are we going to say Braxton Jones was a bigger problem than DeMarcus Walker? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that,
No.
Well, no, I mean it's
No.
easier to say a left tackle is a problem though, Brandon. Because a left tackle, you see their mistakes. A defensive end, you just see them not producing. A left tackle, you see your quarterback on the ground because they didn't do their job.
you're gonna
So it's a little
notice
different.
you're gonna notice Walker's not producing when good quarterbacks are shredding the Bears. But like,
No, yeah, for sure. But then you're going to see them completing that pass over a cornerback, and you're going to see them. There's a lot of factors. It's really plain and cut and dry when you see a left tackle not performing. That's all I'm saying.
I think the Bears believe they might have addressed both of those positions with project players. To be honest, I think the Bears think that. I think they think what Buck is saying. I think they think Karan has the ability. He was a really good tackle before his injury, and the guy played at Yale. I mean, he could have done anything with his fucking life, right? But I also think they think Austin Booker might be the answer at that position.
Could happen.
Another thing, because I
Could
think
happen.
he is. I think he is. I think that guy is going to be a stud. I really
So
do.
let's say Karan came in let's say Braxton had an injury. Karan comes in, plays quality left tackle. Let's say Booker develops by the end of the season into a quality edge rusher. I would say safety is the position that you look at next year.
or center.
Or center, yeah.
You would have to, and I agree with center if you are somewhere near the 20th pick. If you're somewhere high,
that's where they're going to be.
If they're high in the draft, they're not going to draft it.
They're not going to be high in the draft, though, bro. They're making the playoffs. So
you never know, barring whatever happens this year. Yeah, I hope not. I hope to God
they'll be right in that Jackson Powers Johnson range.
I hope they're fucking 32nd in the draft. That's what I'm hoping for.
Did you hear what Rich Eisen said today?
Yeah. By the way, the ceiling.
The best case scenario.
Yeah, let's beat that up.
What was that?
The Super Bowl.
They lose in the Super Bowl. That's what Rich Eisen said. Because I think
that's the best case scenario.
Yeah,
that's
because
Rich Eisen said today,
he was kind of saying that they're better. They could be better than any NFC team, but they still won't beat the best AFC team, which is probably pretty.
And he was comparing it to like Ben Roethlisberger with the Steelers early on. He went to the AFC Championship in his rookie year, I believe. Then the Super Bowl in his sophomore year. Dan Marino with the Dolphins.
15 and his Roethlisberger's rookie year, they were 15-1. He had one hell of a rookie season. But do you think the Bears? Listen, man. Any given Sunday, right? Do you think if the Bears had the
exactly, we could win. We could go to the Super Bowl and win.
Right. If you can get there, can you beat the Chiefs? Can this Bears team?
It's always possible.
So get this, guys. I made a Facebook post when Justin Fields was traded. Or no, when right after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and I made a post, and this pissed so many people off. And I posted a picture of Caleb Williams, and I said, if there's one man that can stop the Chiefs, and everybody posted laughing emojis, and you're a clown, and that's ridiculous. But if Caleb Williams is who you project him to be, and the Bears go to a Super Bowl to play the Chiefs, why the hell can't they win it?
I
Well,
mean,
they could.
if you're in the game, then you should have just a fair shot
You know
as
what I
anyone
mean?
else, you know?
It would be super cool, man, to see that guy derail a dynasty, right? I mean, Caleb Williams would have to be the greatest thing in sports to come in his rookie season and derail possibly the next best organization to the Patriots we watched through the 2000s,
Dude,
right?
well, we wouldn't be going to work for a couple of days. That's vacation time right there. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I got what is Track saying here? From inside the building, the Bears believe they have a corner they will turn to safety. Is he talking about Kyler Gordon? Is he talking about Terrell?
I think Tyreek Stevenson is the guy that they were talking. I know that Dave Wanstead said on the score that he believes. He said, when I had players like Tyreek Stevenson, I tried to transition them to safety. That's what he said. And he said, especially when a player like that slows down. I mean,
I like Tyreek. He's a badass. He's after it.
A sophomore. He's not slowing down.
No, that's right. No, and I don't think Wanstead was saying that Tyreek's, going to make that transition because of his inability to play corner. He just said when he was the head coach and when he had a corner that was really physical like that, just kind of a hitch in the mouth kind of guy, he thought it was more important for a guy like that to play in the safety. But the problem is, if Tyreek Stevenson played safety, he'd kind of play the same role as Brisker, right? Like, I don't think that he'd be that free safety.
He's a ball hawk. Tyreek Stevenson is a ball hawk, man.
I got to see it for another year before I say that, man. He's good. He's a good press cover.
Yeah.
I think he's physical. I like his physicality. I don't think that he's necessarily. I don't see him getting like 4 takeaways this year. I think that he's a really.
I see him getting 6, bro. He's gonna have 6.
That would lead the league, dude. No way.
Could lead the league, yeah.
6.
Because what did that kid from Dallas have? 6, right?
Diggs?
No, the kid that stepped in. The
guy out of Auburn, right?
Yeah, the guy who's the ESPN bet his odds to get a pick 6 got to like minus at some point in the season
because he had like
3 in a row.
Oh yeah.
I forget that.
Who was that guy?
He played really well because Diggs got injured and they needed somebody in that position.
I'm not saying pick 6s. I'm just saying he's gonna have 6 interceptions, man. He's
after it. He's after it, Dustin. He's aggressive. He was real close to several last year that he didn't quite get a hold of. He's after the ball. He's definitely after it.
Yeah, man, he's got the length to get it before those receivers too, which I love.
I like him.
I like his aggressiveness. I think he plays his best football at the line of scrimmage. To be honest, he was the most targeted corner in the NFL. Now, obviously, that has a lot to do with the guy who was across from him.
But did you say he was the most targeted corner
in the NFL? In the entire NFL, he was the most.
Really?
Well, because Jalen Johnson
wanted to throw to Jalen.
You don't throw the ball that direction. I think Jalen Johnson was the least targeted cornerback.
Right, I gotcha.
All right, guys, let me get a throw. Hey, Buck, I appreciate you joining us tonight. It's kind of a surprise. I'm glad you hung out with us.
Yeah. Thank you.
As Track says, pay the bills. I want to thank TC's World of Wonders, your headquarters for all your Chicago sports jerseys and memorabilia. Guys, go check them out. I heard their prices on jerseys are pretty fair. Lord knows that the NFL is making more and more money on those nowadays. Go get yourself a Caleb Williams jersey. We should all do so. And then we're Stadium Club, guys. Good cocktails. If you're a gamer, go out there, check that place out. It's obviously in Worth, Illinois, and Budget Cars. Is there anything, Dustin, Buck, that you wanted to add before we hang up tonight?
Yeah, man. Celtics in 7. We didn't really get to the. The Celtics are going to win in 7, man. I'm rooting for the Mavericks. I want them to win. I can't pick them to win logically, man. But I think it's
7 would be awesome.
I think it's going to be a great series. I think we're going to see a lot of awesome basketball, and I think we're in for a treat with that. Celtics.
I'll go with you, Dustin. I'll go with the Celtics. Larry Bird's a badass, I tell you.
Yeah, well, Larry Bird's on the other
Lucas
team.
Bird.
I'll say this, guys. I think
He's a shit
right.
talker, man. He backs it up.
I still like the Celtics. I agree with you, Dustin, but I will say, if Luka Doncic does not win an NBA Finals this year, this is not the last you're going to see of him in the NBA Finals. I truthfully believe that. The Mavericks are putting together a team that's good.
Yeah,
and
it's the Celtics time, though, man. They've been there too many times now.
As much as I don't appreciate their head coach, I do think they have the team this year to finally win. Yeah, you're right, man. The team that goes to a finals and loses, like that Celtics team did a few years ago, always rights the ship. You know what I mean? And the NBA, that seems to be the common story. The only team I saw that didn't do it was the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler. I thought maybe they had a chance, but yeah, guys, I want to thank everybody who's in the chat. We did get up to over 75 in the chat, guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Guys. Thank you so much.
On a Tuesday. Buck, as always, thanks for joining us, and thanks for being in the chat when you're not on the show.
Right.
And thanks, Trax, for keeping our chat active, man. Killing it tonight.
Yeah, the chat was awesome tonight. Trax was great in it. Paul was great in it. I love seeing that from them. Trax and Paul were really going back and forth. Bruce was in there, Cubs got the win tonight. Crazy game. It sounds like.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna go back when I hang up here. I'm gonna go back and watch those highlights. That's crazy. They were down 5-0. That's a crosstown. That crosstown classic was getting kind of stale, man.
Yeah.
It was getting bad for a little while, man. So hopefully that brings back
like the tortilla chips I had at dinner tonight, man. They're just
somebody left them out for a while.
Yeah, that restaurant.
Somebody
marinated.
Pulled them out at like 3:00. They sat there till 7.
Cheryl was in here. She was great too, man. Everybody was active in the chat. You guys help us out so much and keeping the.
Yeah, I know. I don't even need the ESPN app anymore. When I need a game update, I just hit up Cheryl. She's got it all for it. Straight up. Guys, it's been a blast. Dustin, it was good to do a show with you again, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, you too, man. Yeah, we gotta hang out. We gotta get a beer.
Like you said, we got to riff. It was fun. Yeah, definitely, man. Let's get up for a beer. Buck, you can join us. Buck, where are you at?
I'll do it.
In Indiana.
I'll do it. Indiana, Hobart.
Do you go to Bridges?
I've never been there, but I heard so much good things about. I'm going to make my way there.
My aunt.
I don't really go to bars too much. I just don't. But
blame me for that. You got to pay an arm.
But I've been seen at a few.
Yeah.
My aunt lives in Hobart. I did not realize you were in Hobart. My aunt's lived there for about 20 years now, I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I got family out there.
I'll be watching out for them.
Go down to Bridges, check them out. Give them a holler for Chicago Sports Podcast. Bucks, been a pleasure. Dustin, been a pleasure. Everybody in the chat and everybody watching tonight, Chicago and the rest of you fanatics, thanks for spending your Tuesday with us. And everybody have a good night.
They're back.
Good night, guys.